G'day, architects of STEM. Welcome to lesson 3. This week, your task is to become an architect and design a building or a house or a building from the outside. Okay, so we're not don't you don't need to focus too much on the inside detail. This is our first week of being architects, so we're more focusing on the outside of your building. So the first thing I would suggest doing before you even open Tinkercad is maybe go for a walk with your parents down the street, have a look at some of the houses on your street and get some ideas. Have a look at the objects and the shapes that make up that house, and you might think, oh, I could do that in Tinkercad. So that's one way, or you could just get some inspiration from Google Images. Go onto Google, type in houses, have a look at some different house designs, and you can draw some inspiration from other architects' designs. Then I would suggest maybe doing a rough sketch, just like you did with your robot. Sketch it out so you have a bit of an idea of where you're going with your design. Then you can also the challenge is you can add a sustainable aspect to your house. So, is there anything about your house that is eco-friendly? You don't have to do that. That's just something extra that I added in. And main thing is get creative and have fun with your design. Okay, try not to get too frustrated. Some things in this lesson may be a little bit frustrating, and you can see the skills that we'll be going over. We'll be looking at the whole tool again in more detail. This one here, the dimensions, we will be working a lot with dimensions in this lesson, and it takes a little while to get used to, and it might be a little bit confusing, but stick with it. Dimensions, using CAD programs it's really important to start getting used to, entering dimensions, and especially as architects, measurements and dimensions are crucial. So you need to have a go at using dimensions when you're building. We'll cover a few different shortcuts, and we'll be looking at how we can use the duplicate tool to create different complex shapes in our build. I do apologize again for another long video. I did try to condense it a little bit, but it is quite difficult to fit it all into the video. So if there are some skills that you are already confident at, feel free to jump ahead a little bit in the video. But it can't hurt watching it again. So if you do have the time, I would suggest watching the video, because the more practice you get at this program, the better your designs are going to be. So with that said, good luck, have fun. Enjoy being an architect, and I really look forward to seeing your designs next Wednesday. All right, ready to go. So I have my document, the Fantabulous Walt. I don't like that name. We need to get into the habit. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is changing my name of my document to Lesson 3 House. And now that is saved. So make sure you're doing that every single week or every design. Rename it. It's a good habit to get into, as I've mentioned previously. So I've had a few questions on Zoom about changing the size of your work plane. And for today's design, we are going to need a bigger work plane. So the way we can do that is by going all the way down here to the bottom right hand corner where it says Edit Grid. Now if you click that, you'll see options come up here. We don't need to change the units. We like to keep it as millimeters, but what we do want to change here is the width and the length of our work plane. So at the moment, it's always default to 200 by 200, but today I think I'm going to change it to 800 by 800, and you'll see as soon as I click Update Grid, it is much bigger. So it just gives us a bit more space to be creating our house today. Now, at any point during your design, you can change that size. You can change it smaller or make it larger depending on what you're doing. But I think once you've set it to around this size, you're probably not going to need any more space than this. So before we build, today we will be using the dimensions tool, okay? So I just want to explain that very quickly. Now, you guys in class since probably kindergarten have been learning about three-dimensional objects. Now it's time to put that skill to use. So if we have this cube here, we can see it's three-dimensional, it's 3D, okay? It has three dimensions. The dimensions are the length, the width, and the height, okay? So we've got the length, width, and height. And we can change these all three dimensions in this program. So I'll just give you an example of how we can use it. Now, if I click this square here, the dimensions are placed, okay? They're going to be set there until I click off it. So I click the square and I can actually change the values by typing these in. So I want to make this cube a little bit bigger. So what I'll do is I'll change the length first. So you can see this is the length. You can see the arrows tell you what dimension is going to be changed. So I'll change this to 40, the length 40, okay, and I will change the width to 40 as well. So you can see this is the width. You look at those little arrows. I'll change the width to 40, and I want to make this a cube, so I need to change the height to 40 as well. Now you're looking around, which one will change the height? This one here. You can see I can change the height by clicking that, clicking 40, and there we go. I don't need that anymore. It was just an example. I was just want to show you how the dimensions worked before we get into it, so I can delete that and we can get started. Okay, so today I'll show you a couple of different ways that you can actually make the shape of your house, the outside of your house. The first way I'll show you is by using the hole tool to create your walls. So I'm going to drop a cube in here, and what I'll do is I need to resize that because that is a tiny home and it's too small. So I'll grab this square here and drag it out. Now I can drag it and move it to where I like by using the mouse, but what I want to focus a bit on today is using, playing with the dimensions and actually typing in our measurements. So you'll notice when I click here, if I click it, my measurements are set and they're not moving anywhere at the moment. So I can actually just type in my dimensions, okay? So today we'll use dimensions. We won't be focusing on scaling or anything today. That we can look a bit more at that next week. This week we're just focusing on using the dimensions to make shapes smaller and things, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. So today I will make my house, I think 300 by, let's say, 250, I think. Let's see. Okay, perfect. Now I'll just drag that back into the middle here. Okay, now obviously my house is very shallow. I want to bring my box up. I want to, so that my walls will be taller. The way I can do this is by clicking this square here. I know I can drag it up, but I'll type in, let's say 90. Okay, maybe a bit too tall, so I'll click the box again. I want it to be 80, I think. Okay, perfect. There we go. So I have my my box here. Now, today we're only going to be designing the outside of our building or our house. So you could leave it like this if you wanted to have a solid shape. But if you want to have windows and things that you can see into, we need to create walls. We're going to use the hole tool to do this. The way we can do this is we want to make a shape the same as this one, but then shrink it down a little bit so we can actually create the walls. So I'll click this box here and I'll duplicate it. Okay, so now I have a duplicate of the original box. I'll just drag it up a little bit here so that I can see that I have two shapes. Okay, it just makes it a little bit easier. Now, at the moment, they're both the same size. I need to shrink one of the shapes so that it is inside the other shape. Okay, the way we can do that is by using our dimensions. So with this shape selected, I will click here. Now you'll notice the dimensions are the same as the ones I set before because it's a duplicate, right? 300 by 250. I want to create a wall thickness. Now I think for now I'm just going to make my thickness of my walls maybe 5 mil. So I need to take 5 mil off this, which would become 295, and this would become 245. You'll notice once I've done that you can see the inside shape now sits inside my other box and it's smaller. Okay, there is a problem. There's a wall on this side. If I go to this side, there is no wall. So we can use the align tool, right? We want it to all be centered up. So what I'll do here, select both, and I can go up to my align tool or press L on my keyboard and it brings up my markers. Now I want to center this, so I'll click here to center this one and I'll go around to this side and center this one, and now you can see around my box it's equal. The distance is 5 mil wall thickness. Okay, now at the moment there is no walls, actually it's just two solids inside of each other. What I'll do here is I will click off that, and now I need to make one of these shapes, the inside shape, a hole. Now you'll notice sometimes it's a bit of a struggle to select the correct shape if they're on top of each other like this. So what I like to do is I'll just put a box there so that I can deselect this shape here. So I'll click here, and then now I want to just select my inside shape. So I click that, and I will make it a hole. Now this is a hole, and everywhere, all the shadows is what's going to be cut out once I group this. Now my wall's thicknesses were 5 mils, and I want this box to be 5 mils off the work plane so that my floor is the same thickness as my wall. So what I'll do is I'll press D, drop it to the work plane. Okay, now it's inside the shape, it's flat. I could perform the cut now and there would be no floor to my house, but what I'll do is I want to raise this a little bit. So I'll click the cone here, and you'll notice it's 0 because it's flat on the work plane. I want to raise it 5 mil off the work plane. So I'll go here and I'll type 5, enter, and now it is 5 mil. You can't really see, but it is actually 5 mil off this work plane here. So now I have this inside shape. All the shaded area is what is going to be cut when I group them together. You can see when I cut it, you'll have the walls there. So let's go ahead and select both of these. You could shift click, but I'm going to drag a box around them. Then what I'll do is I'll click the group tool, Control G, group them together, and there you go. I have 4 walls to my house, and the walls are all the exact same thickness, 5 mils, plus I have a 5 mil thick floor. There we go. That's how to create walls using the hole tool. So now that I have my walls, when I create a hole for the window or the door, you'll be able to see through. Okay, it won't be into a solid anymore, it'll be into this empty space. So let's have a go of doing that. Let's drag a box across, let's turn it into a hole straight away, and let's make it look a little bit like a door. So I'm going to drag it up a little bit here, and I'll make it a little bit wider. There we go. Now I know my floor is 5 mils, so I'll take this guy up 5 mil. Okay, and then what I'll do is I need to make sure it crosses over this wall, it cuts through this wall. So if I go across like that, okay, if I put it there, it's in it, but when I cut the hole, it's not going all the way through. So what I can do is change my view to up here, use my arrow keys, and now I can see that when I perform the cut, it's going to cut this shaded section out of the wall. So let's go ahead and do that now by grouping them together. I will Control G, group that together, click off, and there you go. I have a door. Okay, it is raised a little bit, so we might need to add a step into that later. If you don't want it raised, you don't need to use the you don't need to lift it up 5 mils, and it will be on the ground. So there is a door, and we can also make a hole for a window as well, a cutout for a window by doing the same thing. Let's just make it a little bit taller here. Okay, and I will now use my arrow keys to drag that back into my wall. I will make it a hole, sorry. Let's drag it back into my wall. Okay, and let's lift it up. All right, there we go. Little cutout there for a window. I might put another one there later. So let's go ahead and group these together. And you'll notice now I have a window that you can actually see through. Okay, so that is how to cut out things using the hole tool. Okay, so that you have walls, and when you look through your window, you can actually see into your house. There you go. Look at that. That's pretty cool. I can actually see inside. So that is how you can create the walls that way. Now I can add a roof really quickly. Now remember, this isn't my design. I haven't been looking at a sketch. This is just me playing around showing you some ways that you can do it. Now to put my roof on this, I can use the work plane tool because I know I want the roof to be sitting on top. I'll use my work plane tool over here. Now I have to select the top of one of these walls. So if I select that there we go. Okay, now I have a new work plane and I can add a roof in. I'll just use this shape for now, and it's in place. It's on the top now. Now, I remember my dimensions were 300. My dimensions of my box down here were 300. Oh, look at that, by 250. So I'll do that there. And I can just quickly move it there. And what I'll do is now click off my work plane. Now, sometimes I spoke to someone last week and they had a problem with deselecting their work plane. So if I click my work plane here, you notice that it's so big now, it's quite hard. If I just click anywhere around it, it's not going to work properly. So what I'll do is I'll click my work plane, and you just have to change your view so you can see the old bottom work plane and click there. There we go. Now my roof is looking quite flat. So I will pitch it up about there. Okay, that's pretty good, and I'm happy with that. Now what I'll do is I need it to be sitting directly on top of my house. What I can do is use my arrow keys, okay, and align it that way. However, it's hard to get precise, so what I will do is use my align tool. Select both of these, and I will push L, okay. It brings up my marker points here, and now I need to go over here. Oops, I've selected this guy too. So do not select him because it puts all your alignments out. So I'm going to go back here, deselect those, and just select my house. Actually, I can delete that now. Go away. Oops. Undo. It's your friend. It's because they're grouped. Delete that one. Okay, there we go. So, oh, nope. Now I've got to group them back again. See, it gets a bit fiddly. My hole is not cut out. I will select this, group that, there we go. Now I need to move that back. I can select both of these and use my align tool. All right, so now if I click here, oh, look at that, it's perfectly centered, and there is also perfectly centered. However, roofs often, they need to come out over the walls a little bit, so what I can do here, select my roof and hold shift, and I'll drag it out a little bit. Okay, that's probably good, but you'll notice it's not aligned anymore, so I have to align it. Line tool, there, and there we go. A simple house with a door, a window, and a roof. So that is one way that you can create walls. It's probably one of the easier ways, but when you get a bit more technical with your designs, you might want to. It's a little bit limiting. So there is another way that you can create your walls and your house, and I'll show you that way now. So we can say goodbye to my little green roof house. See you later, mate. And what we're going to do is I'll show you the other way that you can do it. So what I'll do, cube again. Now I'll stick to the same dimensions, which was 300 by 250. Now what we're going to be doing here is actually just making the floor of our house first. So I can drag that over. Now my floor on my other house was 5 mil, so I'll stick with that and go 5 mil here. There we go, I've got a floor. Now I need to put the walls on. So this way we're actually going to build the walls individually. So what I'll do is I'll drag a cube down here, and I know that this measurement here is 250. So I'll click here, I'll change this to 250, and I want my wall thickness to be 5 mils, so I'll change this to 5 mils, and you'll see I've made a wall. Now what I can do is drag this over here and place it there. Now my walls aren't high enough. I think my last house was 80 mils, so I'll stick to the same. Click this, you can see this little arrow shows that it's going to be changing that dimension. Click there and I'll make it 80, and you'll see there we go, I have a wall. There is a problem, the wall is not aligned with the side of my floor. We know how to fix that. Select them, L to align, then let's align. We need to align this wall with this line here, so we're going to click this marker, that, and we also want to keep it centered, so we'll click that one there, and there we go, we have one wall to our house. Now the wall's there. What we can do is now we need the exact same wall on that side, so we are going to duplicate. So let's click off there, deselect our house, select the wall that we would like to duplicate, Control D, and then we can use our arrow keys. Now you notice the work plane's bigger, it takes a lot longer to move things around with the arrow key, so I can also use my mouse and just drag it across. Okay, place it there. I could put it properly, but I'm going to show you the align tool again. Align, let's align it there, and it's already aligned. Oh, no, it's not. Let's center it there. There we go. We have two walls. Now we just need to repeat the process for our remaining two walls. So let's do the same thing, changing the dimensions, drag a box in. We know the length of the house is 300, so we can enter that in there, 300. We know the wall thickness we want to be 5 mil, so let's enter 5. And the height was 80, so let's go 80, and there we go. We have our back wall to our house. So now I can just drag that in place. Yep, that looks pretty good. But also remember to always check your different viewpoints, because it looks good from there, but if you look closely and change your view, there is a gap, and this is going to be a problem because it's a house, and if the wall is not connected, it's going to fall apart. So let's make sure we align that. So let's go and use our align tool again. Okay, so for this part of the video, I'm just going to show you how to start to add some details to a house. Okay, so I want to create a window here. I'm just going to be creating a window. I've got one wall for my house. I just wanted to show you a bit bigger so it's easier for you to see. Okay, so I've got my wall here, and what I want to do is actually put a window in here. So we know I can use the box, the hole tool. Okay, and I'm going to change the dimensions just for now. This is going to be big, but it's just one wall, so I'm going to say 50. No, let's even go bigger. Let's just go 100 by now 100, and I want the height to be 100. Okay, and I'm going to use this shape here to cut a hole as I did before in my wall. So I can bring that up now, and let's just put it here for now. I think, is that going to cut all the way through? It is, so I can go ahead and group these here. So I'm going to group them, and now I have my hole for my window. Now, you can leave your window like that, but maybe you want to put glass in your window, maybe you want to have a window frame. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. So if I want to add glass, I can add a cube, okay, and I know that the dimensions to my window hole were, we had, what did we have? We had 100. The height was also 100. Now the thickness can be the same thickness of your wall, which was, or the width, which was 5 mil. So I can place that. And now all I have to do, change this to maybe a blue color, or you can change it to transparent. Okay. And then I just have to place it inside my shape. Lift it up and make sure it is aligned. There we go. Now I have a glass window in my wall. If you do want to make your window look a little bit more realistic and add some window frames, you can do that too. So I'll show you how to do that. Before, I was just having a look at some different types of windows. It's always good to look at images to give you ideas. And I was looking down, I saw these windows here and thought that they were pretty cool. And I think I can make them on Tinkercad. So I'm going to go and have a go at doing that. So I'm going to go back here. And the way we are going to do this is similar to how we did our house, the first house that we looked at. So I'm going to drop a block in here, and I want to make it fit in here. So I'm going to stay with the same dimensions, which was 100 by 100, and the height I will take to 5 mil. And there we have the start of our window frame. So I'll just change my view. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to duplicate this box. So duplicate, I'll click the corner, which is the one that I've just duplicated, and I'm going to change it to, I think the window frame will be 10 mils. So I'm going to change this to 90, and I'll change this to 90 here, and now we have the start of a frame, but it's not aligned, so I'm going to align it, press L, click there, and click there, and now you can see I've got a 10 mil window frame around the outside. Now what I'm going to do is deselect these and click the middle of my window and turn it into a hole. So now what I can do, actually what I will do is I will duplicate this again because I'm going to use this for something else. Now we can use Control D to duplicate. Another trick, if you hold the Alt key down and drag, it will make a copy when you drag. Okay, so I could do that and I could keep pushing Alt and make multiple copies. I don't want that, so I'm just going to get rid of that for now and leave the, oops, Alt, drag it across. I've got one copy, so I'm going to click back here. I will group these two together, and now it will create a window frame. Okay, so I have my window frame. I'm going to go back to my reference photo. Now, I know it has a cross in the middle and then two little windows. So I'm going to go back and have a go at doing this. So the way I'll do this is I'm going to build the cross, the beams in the middle. So I know that my window width is 100. So I can push 100. And I want the thick, let's take the thickness to 5. Okay, the height. And the width here I will take to, let's say 10 because, oops, let's say 10 because that's the same here. Actually, no, let's say 5. Okay, I like that better. So what I'm going to do now is drag this over here, place it in my window. Now I want this to be in the middle, so I'll select, I'll click the align tool, and I'll align it in the middle like so. Okay, now I need a beam going down the middle vertically. So what I can do is I can duplicate the one that I've just made by holding the Alt key and then just rotating it. So if you have a look here, I'm holding Alt, I can rotate, and there we go. So there is the start of my window. Now I have two little shapes at the top that are very similar, so I'm just going to duplicate this. So I'll move that out of the way a little bit. I'll group these together because I'm happy with that now. So I can group these together. And now what I'll do is I'll hold the Alt key, oops, hold Alt down, make one copy, and then hold Alt down again and make another copy. Now these obviously need to be much smaller, so I'll select both of them and I want them to shrink. Actually, let's align them first. Um, and now what I'm going to do is hold shift down. Oops, get out of the align tool. Hold shift down and I'm just going to shrink them. Now they're not, I need to rotate them as well. So drag them, oops, drag it over here and let's rotate this 90 degrees. And now I can move it across into my window. Still a bit too small. So I will make it a bit larger, move it across. That's looking, oops, nope, change my view. It needs to go up a little bit. That's looking pretty good. However, I will raise it because it's not, I want it to be like that. And now I have my window and I can group that together. So now it is one awesome window. And if you have one window, you hold the Alt key, you have unlimited windows. Okay, so let's get rid of those though. So now what I can do is actually put it on my wall. So what I'm going to make a copy of this. So I held Alt down. I just want to show for another, so I can show you something else. But let's put this one up here. So the way we're going to do this, obviously it's the wrong orientation. We need to rotate it. So let's click, which one is it? This one, and rotate it 90 degrees. Oops, it wasn't that one. Let's undo that. Can't see it. Oh, it's, which one is it? This one here, sorry. Nope, it's this one. Let's go 90 degrees. Okay, oops, I must have made two copies before. So now what I can do is use the work plane tool. Let's select this window here. Let's click here, press D. Let's get out of the work plane. Now all I need to do is lift it up. Actually, let's change the color so it looks like a window frame. Let's go this color, I think. Yep, and now I just need to position it on top of my glass. Out and a little bit up. And voila, we have a really cool looking window that didn't take me too long. And once you've made one, you can duplicate them and make as many as you want. So if you haven't cut holes in your wall to see through the windows, that's okay. You can still put your window up and it will still look like a window. And this is why I've duplicated the inside part of the window, because what I can do here is actually what I will do. I'll make it the height of it 2, so it sits below the frame, and then I can align these like so and like so. And now when I click off it, I'll make it all a solid first and select just the window, make it a light blue, select the frame, let's make it brown, and then we'll group it together. Group, and this saves you a lot of time. We have to click multicolored. This will save you a lot of time if you haven't cut holes in your house. You don't need to do that if you've got this kind of style of window, because once I put it back here, I should have used the work plane to get it here, but you can see that it still looks really good. Okay, you can't see through it, but that's okay. It will save you a lot of time doing it like this, because then you don't have to cut all of the holes and match up the windows to the holes in your house. So that's how to make windows, window frames. Have a play around with it. You can do it however you like. This is just some ideas that I thought might be useful to you guys. That's how to do windows. So the frame technique that I just showed you, you can use for lots of different things. I can use the window that I've just made now and actually turn it into a door if I wanted to. I might change the design if I was going to go back and do this properly, but for the benefit of this, I'll just show you how I would do it. If I was just to change make it, change the width of it, let's make it a bit higher, taller. Let's drag it down and let's drop it to the work plane. I can use my arrow keys to move it across. Let's make, actually, I think I might make it a little bit wider like that. And if I just change it to a solid brown color, I think it's probably going to look like a decent door. Yep. So there we go. I've got a door to my wall now. It's not actually a house. Maybe I would add a doorknob to that using a sphere. You could even rotate your door and put a hole behind it so it looks like the door's open. There's just so many things you can do, and using Tinkercad's awesome because you can just keep reusing the shapes that you've made, the complex shapes that you've created for different things. Alright, I was going to end the video there, but I can show you one more thing. And I know some people might want to make some fences around their house or even, have like a little veranda or a front porch. So I'll show you how to do that now, and you can just use the same skills to make a fence or anything like that. So I always look at pictures to help me. I had a look at some front verandas or porches, and I found this one, which I thought was pretty cool. So I think I can create something similar to this. Using my design. Now I'm going to do this quite quickly because I'm aware of the length of the video. So the way I'm going to do this is I will make a floor first, which I can make the same length as my wall, 300, and then I can make it 200, and I'll change the height to 5. I won't bother aligning it too perfectly now because this is just a rough build here, and I've got my floor. Now what I can do is add my pylons or my columns. So I will add a cube there. I can go, let's change that to 10. It's a bit big at the moment. 10. Drag it to the front. I would align this, but we can just do it quickly. Now I know the height of this wall. I can check my dimensions by clicking the height square here, and it's 178. So I can go here, change this to 178, and there we go. We have our first column. What I can do now is just hold my Alt key, and if I hold Shift down when I'm holding my Alt key, when I drag this, it's going to stay in the same, it's going to align with my first one, okay? And I can't really move it. I'm moving my mouse, but it's staying on that same plane. So I'll put it there, then I can hold Alt again. Let's put this one to the corner. Oops, see, I didn't hold Shift there and it moved around. So let's undo that, hold Shift and Alt, drag it across, and it's at the front there. So there we go. Now I need a roof. Now I can easily do this by duplicating the floor because it's the same. Duplicate the floor, drag that up, and look at that. We've got a front section of our house, a little veranda. Now I can add a fence to this part and the side as well, but I won't do that now. I'll just do the front part for you guys. The way I can do this, same as I did the pylons. Let's go this one and make it 10 by 10 and place it there. Now it's obviously too short at the moment, so let's just make it a little bit taller. I think that's pretty good. Now this is where the duplicate tool comes in handy when making fences or anything that you want to stay perfectly the same space. Right, and you'll see what I mean here. So I'm going to duplicate this one, not hold Alt. I'm going to actually use the duplicate tool, and this is important. Click duplicate, and now I'm going to use my arrow keys to move this the distance I would like it apart. I think that's a pretty good distance. Now, without clicking off this shape, you need to click duplicate again, and what it will do, it will place the shape, the object, exactly the same distance that you moved it previously. So if I click it, you'll see, then I don't have to move it. It's perfectly the same distance apart. I can click it again and again and again and again and again. I can click it again and again and again. Okay, so that last one I don't need, so I can undo that one. And there we go. I've got some palings for my fence. Obviously, I'm going to need a piece of a piece of object on the top here so that they don't fall over. That's really easy to do. I can just place that there. Let's drag this out so that it's the right distance. Let's make it, let's say 5. This can be 5, it can be a bit thinner. Then we'll let's make this 10. And then drag it up, place it, let's move out back with with our arrow keys. You can use the align tool as well. And there you go. Have a look at that. I need to move it across a bit more. Oh, smaller. And then I can group it all. Actually, I can group it all. You could change the colors obviously and make it white and make it look pretty, but I'm not going to do that now. I'll group it up. I don't know why it's got, oh, transparency selected. And there we go. I've quickly made a front porch to my wall house thing that isn't finished, but this I didn't do the full build, as you know. I just wanted to show you some of the ways that you can add things to your house. Okay, that brings us to the end of lesson 3, guys. So I know this lesson was quite heavily focused on dimensions and working with dimensions. And the reason I did that, it is an important kind of tool to get used to. And especially as you're all architects this week, working with dimensions is very important for architects, measurements and dimensions. So that is why we looked at it closely in this lesson. Hopefully some of the more detailed skills that I taught you, you can adapt to your own designs. As you know, I didn't make my whole home or my house today. I just focused on different parts. If you have a look, we can actually see some other people's designs, and you can see how the skills that I've taught in this lesson have been used in these houses too. So you can see, they've got their window frame here, some columns, a door, similar to how I have shown you guys in the video. So another one here, window frames, um, pretty cool looking house. A nice modern house, sustainable as well. We've got a wind turbine and some solar panels, and possibly out the back here a compost garden. You can see the door is opening on this one, which is pretty cool. And let's have a look at this one. Oh, this one has lots of windows. Very well designed. They've obviously spent a lot of hours making this. But remember, once you've made one window, you can see that they've duplicated these windows even down here to create multiple. And they've got a railing here. You can create this similar to how I made the railing on our front porch. Same thing here. I can see a railing on this modern house. We can see some planters, another door, and you can see the door frame has been created how I showed you guys. Some nice looking windows, another balcony at the back, a pool. Even that one even has a pool at the back, which is pretty cool. And the last one is a cool little railway station. Uh, Same thing. Some window frames, some planters out the front, some stairs, and you can see these have been created using columns and probably using the Alt key to duplicate them. So yeah, that's just some ideas of what can be created once you get used to using these skills. Remember this week, have fun, good luck. If something is too difficult or you're finding it a bit challenging, just go back to doing the things that you know how to do. Don't get frustrated, or try not to get frustrated, and yeah, just have fun with it, guys. And I'm looking forward to seeing your designs next Wednesday. See you later.